Welcome to the Purpose for Life podcast. It's Wisdom Wednesdays. I'm your host, Suzanne Roberts, author of It's Deeper Than That, and founder of The Great Reconnection. And today, as always, we have our co-pilot, Monu Singh. Thanks, Monu, for being here.
Thank you. I'm so happy we get to do this again.
Me too. It's one of my favorite things to hang with you with this material.
Yes, for sure.
And Monu, it was your suggestion that this week we do something from the book.
Yep.
So I've found something to read, and then we'll talk about it. How does that sound to you?
Sounds great.
And it's really about what is this journey that we're on here, or that we have the opportunity to be on, to return, remember, and reconnect to the radiant power of life inside of us, which is sending us and giving us life that's connected to the eternal ocean of love. So it says here in this book, it's deeper than that. Turning one's attention inward is a valiant undertaking. Working to still the mind is a valiant undertaking. And yet it can be terrifying to admit that the material world is an illusion, and that the ego serves as a defense for the belief that you're a separate individual. It can be daunting to surrender what you've thought to be true and turn inward. The word surrender may roll off the tongue, but putting it into action is terrifying for most of us. We need to proceed slowly so we can handle it and not freak out. If you place a silk cloth on a rose bush, you don't want to rip it off all at once. It will absolutely shred the piece of fabric. Removing it one thorn at a time keeps the cloth intact. Yes, there will be small holes and a few minor rips, but the silk will remain in one piece. We, like the cloth, want to remain whole while we practice dying to the illusion of the world, while also releasing the false notion that we are separate. Dispelling illusion is hard. And I'm going to read just one more sentence here. Life unites and ego divides. What I appreciate about this passage in the book, sometimes I think we want eureka right now, that I'm just going to surrender and let it all go. And I think that's a spiritual bypass, actually. The truth of the matter is we are so identified with the material world being real and the invisible being unreal, which is actually the reverse, because the material world is constantly changing and it's an illusory, transitory landscape, while what is real is the invisible and can be known beyond the mind, and also the notion that I am important, which, we all want to be important. But it's the I that confines us. I was at a leadership conference recently, and it was talking about the difference between a boss and a leader. And it said the boss focuses on I, and the leader focuses on we. So just take that in. We always say we're not individuals and separate. We're unique and part of a whole. So we want to be unique and celebrate our uniqueness. But letting go of that identity and letting go of the illusion of the world is a slow process that we want to do one thorn at a time, which is dying slowly to a reality that most of the world believes in, and most of the world wants to support our separateness. So it's what is it, the fish swimming upstream, to want to do this differently and to tune the attention inward which means I'm admitting to myself that this world is an illusion, and to begin to whittle away at the ego identity to soften into being part of an inner web or a we. It's actually terrifying, and we need to do it slowly and patiently and lovingly so that we are in touch with our wholeness as we do it, as opposed to fragmentation.
I feel like this is such a rich reading. I mean, I guess I'll start with the pace that you're talking about. I think like it's not only that the outside world is moving so much faster and that there are these expectations that we need to constantly produce quickly, quick fixes, like a 5-minute hack to change your life, like these sorts of things that we see in magazines or on TV or on social media. But I think because we grow up in that, that really becomes internalized, that there is this fast pace that we should be moving at, and that change, whatever change we want to make, should come quickly, at the press of a button or changing the dial or whatever it might be. But I remember being in one of your classes and I was talking to another student in the class and expressing frustration, like, and this was actually the first class that I had taken with you, but in that class being like, I'm not there yet, and I feel like I should be there by now. We've been in class for 4 hours. Why don't I get it? You know what I mean? Whatever it is. Like, I was like, I'm smart. Why do I feel like I don't have this figured out yet, or I don't feel the way I'm supposed to be feeling? And this was years ago, and the thing that the person said has really stayed with me over those years. I said, I feel like I'm changing or moving, but it's so slow. And they said, yeah, you're moving at nature's pace,
Mm,
right? The way that
yes.
we are designed to change, the way that we're designed to evolve. And when we think about the process of evolution in nature, sure, there are species that can change in a generation, but still a generation isn't 5 minutes. It takes time. It takes time. And like you said, really understanding and sitting in that and accepting that is so contrary to what's outside of us and to how we have been shaped by living in the society that we live in. And yet, in talking to people, hear constantly that there is such a deep longing for people to slow down, you know? And I feel like these practices that we talk about and these changes that we want to make are a really beautiful and accessible way to take some time to slow down, to take some of that pressure off of us and to release the expectation that we're going to just in the blink of an eye completely change the way that we think about something, or the way we experience something, because it is slow and it is deep and we want it to be sustainable, and all of those things require us to take some time.
Can I
um
add something in here?
yeah,
Because I
absolutely.
think that we're also talking about surrender.
Yep,
The
I was just
surrender,
about to say that.
surrender of
Yeah.
an illusion or surrender of an identity, or, I hear often people say, I can't believe I'm having to deal with this again. What else would you be dealing with? It's your life that
Right.
you've lived, and you will revisit it over and over again with new insight, with greater compassion, hopefully. And also, the act of turning your attention away from form towards the formless is no guarantee.
Right.
And it's an act of faith in the surrender that there's something greater. And then when we can taste that river inside of us, that current, when we can taste the wholeness and holiness that's already inside of us, then we can go, okay, I can let go a little bit more. But we do need evidence and we do need experience so that it's worth it to let go.
Yeah.
And I also appreciate that what's in the passage. I like the word. It's terrifying to pretend like that isn't scary is not real. And I think it's important to understand it will be scary. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but it will be scary. It will be hard, and it will be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you were reading, like I remember, and this is a conversation you and I had had maybe a year ago, where, I was sort of talking about like escaping from this world and like I just want to get out. And I think like escaping from something is very, very different than surrendering to something,
Yes.
right? It has a totally different quality. And escaping from something can, that sort of frantic feeling of getting out of a situation can give you the illusionary feeling that like things are going to somehow be better. You're going to get released from something. But surrendering
Mm,
to something, it's so much more demanding, right? Especially because of all of the things you said there. Until we get a taste of it, we don't know
yeah.
what we what the experience will be like. We're not
Mm-hmm.
guaranteed in our experience up until now that there is something better for us, something more life-giving.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important that we understand that we're stepping into like a much more expansive, resourced way of being, but it requires us to let go of so much of what has shaped us and made us and what the outside world holds as being important. So surrendering to that, I mean, from my own personal experience, it is terrifying. And it's like little by little,
Little
like I'm
by little.
little by little, slowly sort of loosening the grip, right? Hoping that there's something much better for me to be moving towards and holding on to.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. I love that you just said that. I am going to, as we wind down here, this is the book ends with collective power, and then there's this beautiful tree with some things. And I'm just going to read this as a way to reflect for this week for all of you that are listening as we tune our attention inward and begin to question our individuality and separateness, what's possible for us here. And it says here, I am safe inside my inner stillness. I am safe inside my inner stillness. I belong to the radiant life within me. I act on behalf of my vital life force. I am grateful for myself in the gift of my life. I am one with the river of life. We are. So take some time to reflect on that's as we tune our attention inward, that's the reward. Our inner safety, our inner belonging, our acting on behalf of our vital life energy, our gratitude for who we are and for having this gift of life, and learning to become one with the river of life. And there we are. So thank you for listening in today on Wisdom Wednesday. We'd love to hear from you what your thoughts are about this journey of surrender. And if there's anything else you'd like to hear, subscribe and keep listening. We have Wisdom Wednesdays every other week and great podcast guests every other week worthy of listening to. Thank you, Monu, for being here today. Any last words of wisdom you want to leave our listeners with?
I just encourage everyone as they begin or continue their journey inside that we are a collective together and, rest in that and trust in that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Once again, thank you for joining us here today. Until next time.